just giving everyone a little bit of an overview. We're going to have 3 questions from each of the 4 panelists, 3 minutes apiece, a little bit of flexibility there. Any questions you have can be put in the chat, and then we'll go to the questions after we've gone through this whole process. I would like to start with some introductions, and I've done this alphabetical order just to make sure that this is all in fairness. And it starts off with Pat Johnson, who joined Toastmasters in 1983 in a rural community in Manitoba. And in that time, she's traveled the world as a keynote and an educator. She was a distinguished governor of District 21, an international director in Region 1, and eventually became our international president. Her work has included many projects. She's written books in Toastmaster and has been instrumental in the development of our Pathways program. There's a lot more information about Pat and the other panelists that will be popped in the chat. So anybody who really wants to look into this a little bit more. Our second panelist from Madagascar is Irina Nambi Nandro. And she has the fantastic job of being the mother of 3 children. She's a civil engineer and an entrepreneur in building construction. She's a coach, speaker, trained in certified Maxwell leadership, and a member of Toastmasters since 2021. She's from District 129 and is the member of 2 clubs, First Toastmaster Club of Madagascar and Kingsley Toastmasters. She's been VP PR, club president, club expansion chair, TLI chair, and area director. She sponsors 7 clubs and mentors 3 clubs. Welcome. Next on our list is a very helpful, Monique was just great with breaks it down as to Monique Levesque Ferreau. And we speak French in Canada too. Those are our 2 main languages. And I think that was a little bit of a making sure that I did that right. She's been with Toastmasters since 1994 and a member in 2 clubs in Winnipeg since 2009. She is the owner of Unique Communications and Training, where she is a presenter and a facilitator. She also holds a certificate in human resource management, where she works with employee development, communication, and leadership while facilitating conflict resolution. She's been on the Toastmasters International Board of Directors, a trainer of regional advisors, and more. Her service also extends to the National Canadian Mental Health Association. So welcome to Monique.
Thank you, John.
Phyllis Nielsen has been an active and committed Toastmaster since 2007. She joined Toastmasters to further her career in the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. She took advantage of the skills she developed in Toastmasters to enhance her effectiveness as a frontline uniformed police officer and police supervisor. So she used her Toastmasters background to investigate police complaints, preparing annual assessments on her team members, and when conducting serious investigations. Phyllis credits Toastmasters with her being selected for 2 leadership positions, District 21 Director and District Representative on the Region 1 Realignment Committee. Today, she uses her skills in her roles as a club leader, as a mentor for new members, and believes that Toastmasters has allowed her to lead a better personal life, and she looks forward to what the future might hold. So if that's not a good group of individuals to talk about leadership, I don't know where you're going to find a better one. So let's move on, and we'll start with our 3 questions to start with. And you can't see me shuffling my papers around here. Okay, question 1. Share some challenges you faced in leadership and how you overcame them. Were there some surprises you encountered along the way? Does anyone want to go first? How about Monique?
Okay,
Please.
I'll go first. So when you sent these questions, first of all, thank you for the invitation. And I thought the questions were really thought-provoking. And I debated about what kind of experience I would draw upon to answer this question. I decided to use a work-related question. So for some context, right now I'm Director of Development for Peer Connections Manitoba. It's a charity in the mental health space that provides free mental health support with peers who have had lived experience with mental health or substance use challenges. But this story I'm drawing upon is from my time at the Canadian Breast Cancer Foundation. And if you're familiar with sales and you're familiar with targets, philanthropy is much the same way. And so in my first year at the Canadian Breast Cancer Foundation, I raised 430% over my goal. And so when it came time to setting the next year's goal, the amount that I was scheduled to raise was 10% higher of what I had raised. Now, there were a lot of things that were wrong with that. Number one, a lot of the money that had come in were really large scale events that didn't happen every year. So they were every 2 years that this money would come in. In addition, there were a few gifts from in-memory donations. You can't count on those as something that's going to come in every year. So I learned that I had to use my voice, and thank goodness for Toastmasters, I was able to put together a PowerPoint outlining all the funds that needed to be taken out of that 430% over budget to then come up with a number that was more realistic. Afterwards, the director, the vice president of finance and the vice president of philanthropy pulled me aside and commended me for the work that I'd done in that. And I said, it's not me. I had taken this challenge to my Toastmasters club, and they worked alongside me to develop a response and a presentation that could get me to a point where I had a realistic goal. So thank goodness for Toastmasters.
Excellent, Monique. It's being able to turn things back. When we were speaking earlier, Pat had alluded to the fact that the strength of the club is so important. The member is the most important thing in Toastmasters. And when you have a strong club, it's a joy to go to a meeting, and the value that you get from meeting with the other people transfers into the rest of your life. So, Irina, would you like to answer that question too, or you're okay to go?
Yes,
Do
thank
you
you
want me to
so
read
much.
it?
Yeah.
Would you like me to read it again for you, or are you good?
No, it's good. It's good. Thank you
Okay.
so much. Yeah. First of all, I would like to thank Carlos for having invited me to participate on this panel discussion. It's a real pleasure for me to be here today. Thank you so much. To answer a question, let me share with you my experience with Toastmaster in Madagascar. The biggest challenge that I faced here was when I became the president of the first club here in 2022. As you know, when I joined Toastmasters, as I've seen a big opportunity in Toastmasters, I had a very big vision. My vision was very far beyond the club goal. And the problem is that many people didn't believe in my vision. And the main challenge is that they didn't have the same motivation as I had. They lack of commitment because of that. Fortunately, some members believe in me, and they could help me. They could help me in achieving the vision. The vision was to create many clubs here in Madagascar, but not only in my club. And we worked a lot. We worked a lot on advertising our club, because at that time we only had one club for 4 years. For 4 years, we only had one club here in Madagascar. So my priority was to create more clubs in Madagascar. And quickly, from 20 members, we became 47 members. And we became 40 members. When we became 40 members, I decided at that time with my team that we will keep 40 members for our club. But instead, we will continue to advertise more. We will continue to advertise more. So the more we get people attracted by Toastmasters, we decided to create a second club. But we kept the 40 members for the first club. Then we created a second club, and after that we created a third club and a fourth club, and I never gave up. I never gave up with the officers who didn't believe in me. I never gave up with them. I've always motivated them to follow my vision and to help us with creating more clubs. And do you know what happened? From one club for 4 years, from one club, now we are 11 clubs. And the next
Wow.
step for us in Madagascar is to become a division next year. Yeah, thank you so much.
Congratulations. Boy, what a great story. And that brings me back to my little saying earlier, the best do what the rest are not prepared to do. And it's a real, it's a great way to live your future. Carlos, you got your hand up. Can I help you with something?
It is my intention that every participant sees the time. Is that okay with you? You prefer that?
Okay. Phyllis, you can see the time?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, let's move on to Phyllis. Would you like me to read that again, or you're ready to go?
That's okay. Thank you, John. I was going to give you a different example, but I've just changed my mind. I think what I wanted to share with you is my supervisory experience in my job with the RCMP and Nanaimo involved me supervising a small team. So I was the first level of supervision, or a junior manager. And I supervised a traffic accident investigation team of 6 officers. And our responsibility was to investigate serious injury and fatal car accidents within our territory, which is a large territory, just a small unit. And when a serious accident comes in like that, the whole team is needed, and sometimes more than what we have. And I found that I quickly adapted my my leadership to support my team. They knew what they had to do. My role was to make it possible for them to do their job. And sometimes that meant making phone calls. Sometimes it meant making space for them to do their work. I even, a hot summer day, laboring out in the sun, I went and bought cold Gatorade at the store and brought them cold drinks to cool down. A lot of times, and I decided how could I best support them. I took it on myself to be the officer to go and make the death notifications with the relatives, as well as in one particular case that was really sad. I was a permanent liaison with the husband whose wife had been killed by not just a drunk driver, but someone on their cell phone. And really sad situation, but I just kept in contact with him every time. So he would just call me, only me. And that way my team wasn't affected by him, and they could just concentrate on the work. And finally one day we did get the conviction for him. But I realized that I could do those less desirable tasks that I wanted to take off their shoulders, and while just making sure that they were supported in every way that I could. And I know they appreciated it, and together it worked well. So I did that for probably 5 years, and I feel good about that.
Thank you, Phyllis. Leadership is an interesting place to be because there is that there is that emotional piece in there, and you have to be a compassionate human being, but also you have to toe the line for the organization. So it's finding that middle ground that really enhances you as a human being because you learn how to deal with both sides. So, Pat.
Yes. Thank you, John. What I want to share this evening on this question is how I had to dig deep when I got stalled out in the process of leading. So some of you know that I started out in Toastmasters in District 64, where Monique lives now. Yay. Fabulous district to be a brand new Toastmaster in, and learned so much and had such strong mentors at that time and so many opportunities. And I was area director of area governor of the year in that district. And I went on to be a division director, which was a really demanding western side of the province, and really was aspiring to be in the district, on the district team, and felt like I was ready. I had a DTM, I'd chartered clubs, I had worked with clubs, and felt really like I was moving in my development of leadership. And I moved from Manitoba to BC. And when I got to BC, I was not in the district maybe about a year, but obviously not well known. But I ran for what's now known as Club Growth Director, and I wasn't elected. And the next year, the person that had been elected in that office didn't go forward. And I thought, well, then I'll run again and I'll get elected to that position. And I wasn't elected again. And I really struggled in terms of what would I do next. And I had to do a lot of introspection. And I think this is a critical part of leadership, is being able to sit down and do that self-reflection. What am I doing well? What do I need to change? What's not working? Why am I not getting where I want to get to? And I think we all have to do this. And I realized that obviously I wasn't well known. And so I got to work in the district, and I got involved in, chairing things at conferences and doing ed sessions and being up in front of the district. And then when I was asked a few years later, I was asked by the district director to step in when the club growth director had to resign because of a family issue, and I declined. And she said, but you're ready for leadership in our district. And I said, I'm not taking an appointed position because the district didn't elect me for 2 years. So I'm going to do it the way I need to do it. But I said, I promise you, I'll run next year. And so the next year I ran differently. I went out and got a campaign manager. I made sure that I went to every division that I could get to, and I had people to speak for me in the divisions I couldn't get to. And at that time we had 10 divisions, and I was elected. And so I really learned a tremendous amount in that. So it's not about giving up when you're unsuccessful right away, but it's looking at, what do I need to learn? And do I still really feel a calling for this? And if you do, then keep at it. But don't think you just come back with the same things that you had the first time or the second time, but you have to bring different qualities and different experiences as you continue going. So that's what, those were surprises, but also great lessons for me that I've applied ever since. So I'm grateful for them, and thanks to District 21.
Thank you, Pat. Remember hearing that story. I can never really believe that here's an individual who ended up being our international director, and it's the path that is so circuitous when you move along it. But having I believe it's Napoleon Hill talks about having a determined, you have to have a belief in yourself that there's something that you want. And I was lucky enough to spend a year with Pat coaching and set a 5-year plan, and 5 years into it, I was in a great place, and I've had just a phenomenal time outside the Toastmasters. And the only thing I'm missing is getting paid for it, but you know, that's what volunteerism is all about. So we'll move on to our second question, and we've got what might have happened or what might have been said to you that helped you realize that you were a leader. And I'm going to start with Phyllis this time.
Thank you, John. This question just brings me to one memory that I have, and that was at a district conference quite a while ago. I was approached by two Toastmasters, two experienced Toastmasters from another division that I didn't really know well. And they encouraged me to run for district leadership. They thought I would be good in that role, and that the district needed some new blood, and that if I was to do that, they would follow me and they would be on my team. And so I was very honored by that, and it made me think going forward. It made me consider, is that something I want to do? And I thought about it for a long time, and I hummed and I hawed, and then I decided that yes, I want to be a district leader. It was a matter of when. And I know I turned down 2 opportunities when I was asked, because I felt I wasn't ready. But then just a few years later, I knew it was my time, and so I put my name forward. And it was good to know that somebody, I felt complimented, and it was the first time anyone had spoken about my leadership. And that's where it led me. It led me to make that decision to run. And then years later, when it was the right time, I stepped up, and I don't regret any of it. That was my journey to district leadership.
Yeah, it's interesting how we all got there in a different way. And these are the lessons that I'm trying to bring forward with these questions so that other people can learn. I remember I got asked to be a program quality director, and I find out a couple of years later, the district director who I had the most fabulous year with, there was 3 of us. We traveled the province of British Columbia, which is just absolutely huge, and really created an environment that was good for the organization. And he tells me later, he says, well, you're about the 10th person I asked. I didn't know whether to take that as a slap in the face, but the whole thing was the value that I got out of it. And it was a really important lesson for me. I find that leadership teaches you what you really want to know about yourself so you can be a better person. And sometimes you don't like it, and other times it's really a good experience. So let's move on to Monique with question 2.
All right. First of all, I loved that first answer. I think that it's not just that one person and that one thing or item that's been said to you. I feel like it's a cornucopia of, you've got this, you can do this, the district needs you. Because I had a lot of preconceived ideas of district leadership. And when you don't know why you think what you do, I erroneously thought that you could not go for district leadership unless you'd won a district leader award and you were retired. I thought at early days, exactly, because you just get into your head, you haven't read anything, and you see what's been up there, and you just do the math and you go retired, area governor of the year. retired, Toastmaster of the Year, Eric Stumiller Award recipient, Jack Gillespie Award recipient. So I was, asked numerous times, and I said, but I can't move forward. I haven't won an award and I'm not retired. And Sherry Wood, this conversation was with Sherry Wood, she goes, are you punking me? Like, that's not a prerequisite. So it goes to show you that the leaders we have up there aren't the only example of a leader. We want that diversity, and we're seeing more about diversity and inclusion in all walks of life. And I think our Toastmasters leadership needs to do the same. I will say that I was probably a better district leader because I was working. That club growth role was all about networking and businesses and getting inside doors. And I was a chamber ambassador. So that opened a lot of doors for me. And I actually felt that it was an asset that I was working. Could I go to everything that was during the workday? No, but I had a rule. Don't call me between the hours of 9 to 5. I worked at the Canadian Breast Cancer Foundation, so I took that time seriously. But I'm telling you, anytime outside those CBCF hours, Toastmasters had me, and it was a great experience.
That's a good point to remember. What can you do? And when you do it the best you can. If you open yourself up to, and I've seen it, like my partner Karen has gone through 3 years of it, and sometimes I wondered, it's like, could you please take the phone off the hook occasionally? And she made those decisions for herself, and it worked very well for herself, because the relationship that you talk about is just phenomenal. And over time, she was getting coached at the time. She had all kinds of support around her. And it's just, when things don't go right, you really have to take time for yourself and make sure that you're comfortable. So, Irina, we have question number 2 for you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I agree with Monique about it's not about a person or something that has been said for myself. It's more about the impact that I've seen to people around me, either in Toastmaster or in my personal and professional life. Do you know? I've been a manager of a building construction company for almost 20 years now, and on my mind, I thought that by being a manager, it makes me automatically a leader. But I was wrong. And I only realized that I was wrong when I joined Toastmaster and I took a leadership role. I realized that title or position don't make you a leader. I realized that it's because I realized that these people, this person, they are not obliged to follow you because you are the president of the club. No, they are not obliged to follow you. You have to inspire them. You have to show them. You have to show them the way. You have to do some action to prove them that that you deserve to be a leader and that they want to follow you because they want to follow you, not because you force them to follow you. I realized that when I joined Toastmaster and I took the role of VPPR first, and then club president, and now area director. And I realized that it's really important the impact that you are doing to these people in order for you to add value to these people. I realized only that I am a leader when these people follow me because they want to follow me, not because of the title or position, or because you are the manager of the company. Thank you so much.
Super answer, because we think we think we know what we're doing, but once you start working with volunteers, you're herding cats, and it's a real challenge to do that. So, okay, I believe we've been through all 4 with number 3. We have a real vacuum with new leaders. And oh, Pat.
Thank you. I didn't answer that question.
Oh, my apologies. Ooh.
That's okay. I don't mind. A couple of things for me. I think that I was well into a very senior leadership role before I called it leadership. I was just busy learning to do things. And my career was parallel to my continuation in Toastmasters. And when I was serving on the board as a director, my job got more responsible. And then when I went into the executive committee, my job got more responsible. And when I was president, I was working full time and running a department and managing people and budgets. And, so I worked like many of you, I worked during all those leadership roles, but I never really thought of it as leadership. I just kept thinking I've got more to learn. And I kept going on and, oh, I'm learning strategic planning. Oh, I'm looking at organizational development. Oh, now we're looking at branding. Now we're looking at education. And I never put the title of leader on it. I just looked at it as more and more growth and building relationships and listening to people. And one of the things that really impacted me, first of all, some influential people very early on in my Toastmastering saw potential in me and mentioned things to me that I didn't even understand what it meant. Like past international president Eddie Dunn, I was the year I was area director or area governor in '64, was at a regional event, and he said to me, "Someday you'll be a district governor." And I didn't even know what that meant. But I thought, oh, he thinks I can be something. And but I think that when I ran for international director was really one time when I really stopped to think about it. And I was unopposed. And somebody from my region phoned me and said, oh, there's some women down in some of the other districts, and they're trying to find somebody to run against you because they don't think that you will be a very good director. And I said, well, that's okay. Anybody that wants to run is welcome to run. That's not my business. My job is to show up and be the best I can be. But I think that was the first inkling that I thought that I was. And then somebody said to me, oh, don't worry, nobody will run because nobody will run against you. And that was the first inkling I had that people thought I was capable. Again, not the word leader, but that I was capable. And so that continued as I went through the chairs. But I would say when I got to be international president, I felt like I was the leader of the organization. So it was late in arriving for that word. So thank you.
That brings a lot of thoughts to the forefront in the sense that what we think about ourselves isn't always true, but what other people see in us gives us the ability to have that insight to look internally and yes, I know I can, or it's for our generation, it's the little engine that could, I know I can, and once you're there, I've found that leadership is also a bit of a scary position to be in too. You have to make decisions that are going to affect people, and you're always going to have pushback from some group of individuals, and that's very debilitating. So it's looking internally, it's associating with other people. And my year with the trio, we had the chance to deal with Ted Corcoran, who was a past international director, and he came over from Britain a few times, and he was just the nicest guy that everybody loved, and he was an example of what we could be. And he ran, I think it was Irish Rail. So he really had that ability as a CEO to be able to just take it down a notch to the rest of us so that we could learn, because all three of us that year were brand new at the position. So, okay, we've got question 3, and let's see if I can get all 3 of you on this, or all 4 of you. Goodness gracious. Okay, so no, I think we're on the question 3, and Pat just finished that one. Boy, this is complicated here. Okay, who wants to go next?
I'll go first.
Thank you.
Okay, so the question is, we have a real vacuum with new leaders in the district. How is it that you see developing this aspect of the Toastmasters members? For me, this is all about club excellence. This is where the guest walks in. This is where the guest pays their money and anticipates being introduced to a superb education system and learning environment. And this is where they wait to get exposed to all the opportunities that exist in the area and division and district, region, and international world of Toastmasters. This is where they learn how to work through pathways. This is where we learn how to give quality evaluations. This is where we learn how to run an election, when we sit on an executive and work as a team. There are so many things that have to happen in a club for people to continue. And as a result, if we have club excellence, we have retention, but also we have people that want to go forward and continue learning more. If I wouldn't have been from a strong, supportive club, and when I was in Winnipeg, when I was District 64, when I lived in Winnipeg, first of all, I was in a rural club and in the Swan River, but then I belonged to Skyliners, and Skyliners was one of the strongest clubs in Winnipeg at that time. And it was a real challenge because they had only had one woman president of Skyliners when I joined there. But it had been the home to Jack Gillespie, who was an international president, Terry Daly, who was an international president. And we had a huge reputation, Skyliners 831 did. And I was super proud, but I had to stand on my tippy toes to measure up in that room. And that was so fantastic to, build a strength in me and the people that came in. And then, of course, when I moved to Victoria, ultimately ended up at Rise and Shine, which again is a President's Distinguished Club year after year. And that's where we grow people. And so the onus is on the club. And there's so many clubs that go, well, it's our club, we'll run it the way we want. And I go, well, actually not. You made a commitment when you got your charter papers to comply with the Toastmasters program. You don't need to pay your tuition to Toastmasters if you're just going to go away and do your own thing. Do not taint the Toastmasters branding and education program by not giving it to the people that actually pay for it. That's not your role. If you don't like pathways, that's your personal opinion, but you've got a legal requirement when somebody pays you the money for a program to actually give them that program. So for me, that until we fix club quality, we're going to have a dearth of, we're going to have a vacuum of leaders and members and retention, because if we don't retain them, we don't grow them. Look at Monique and I, how long we've been around in Toastmasters. Phyllis, Irina's starting to get there. We're not here for 3 years or 4 years. We're here for the long haul to get up through all those positions. It took me 15 years to go from club president and up through area, division, district, all the district roles, and all through the ID to get to president. 15 years of leadership. So you've got to have people around for a long time to build leaders that are at the head of this organization. So you've got to have a strong club. And you know what? When you've got those positions, the best thing in the world is that you belong to a strong club because you come home and they ground you and they let you that we don't care if you're an international director. We care that you did a good speech today or a good evaluation. And I think that's the reality of it. So it's all about club environment for me, everything. And you know what? I pay the same dues as everybody else does that just sits in a club and never goes anywhere. It costs me the same thing to do it on a world stage. I didn't get extra bills. Thanks.
Yeah, that's pretty darn cute. I know that what you speak of is really important because this morning we had inductions for our new members, and here's all those people who have come into the club, and they see another person inducted, and Karen gave a really good, heartfelt opening to that. We give them one of the coins that has the 4 core values on it, and as we move through the new people, they recognize and they support those individuals, and it's ensuring that there is that base and there's always somebody there to build on that. So who'd like to get that number 3 question next?
I'd like to go next on that one.
Monique, thank you.
So I agree with Pat has said. I mean, when you're thinking about a Toastmaster and their experience, they experience Toastmasters at the club. No one comes to Toastmasters on night 1 and goes into district leadership. No one goes into Toastmasters on night 1 and goes, I'm going to do a la carte and I'm only going to do the convention. We experience Toastmasters at that club level. But I'm going to approach this answer slightly differently, and that is around conflict. I was very, very honored and pleased to be asked to co-chair a committee that came together from the disciplinary committee talking about mediation. And from there, Chris Ford tapped me on the shoulder. He said, you're the first person I'm talking to about this. And from that conversation, what was born was the District Leader Conflict Working Group. And I hear all too often that the vacuum that happens is when district sees district leaders at conflict and butting heads. And let's remember, yes, our dues are all the same no matter what, but none of us are getting paid. And so when people in a district see district leaders not getting along, and there's a lot of strife, and there's a lot of angst, anxiety, people say to themselves, I don't have enough time in my life to dedicate to this if I'm not getting paid, and I'm not getting paid enough to deal with this. So I really do feel that, with mental health being what it is, there's a little thing called COVID-19. I say this often, that was the pandemic, but there's a thing called the echo pandemic. And that echo pandemic is anything related to mental health that stems from COVID-19. A new study has come out on the state of mental health in Canada, and they're casting 7 to 10 years of impact from the echo pandemic. That's where Toastmasters can play a key role in addressing these anxiety issues. And I think it starts at making sure that conflict is healthy and making sure that when leaders see district teams, that they're having fun, they're growing from the experience, and they're taking what they've learned into their lives to make their community a better place.
Fantastic. And I can tell you that, I've got Garth on here from Thunderbird. It was an extraordinary experience it was an evening club. When you left there, you were just on fire. It was such a great environment for everybody to learn. The guests would leave and they would just be beside themselves that, boy, is this ever wonderful. Same thing with the morning. Like, I don't get up at 6 o'clock in the morning to go somewhere for 7 o'clock in the morning. But when I leave at 8, I'm always in such a good frame of mind. And it's because of the individuals there recognize exactly the same thing that I do, that if you contribute and we all work together, we can walk out of here and we can have a fabulous day. So I believe we have 2 more people to talk to this. A choice? Oh, you both got your hands up, so I'm going to call in Arena and we'll leave Phyllis till the very end, okay? Go ahead, Arena.
Thank you so much. In addition to what Pat and Monique said, I will talk more about the individual because that's the case here in Madagascar. Do you know, Toastmaster organization is a place where leaders are made. And the Toastmaster program is very powerful. I'm convinced about that. Toastmaster program is very powerful and it's very rich. But do you know, the problem is that it's individual problem. It's lack of commitment, lack of resilience. They give up easily. I've seen that. They give up very, very easily and quickly. And they don't have a real goal, a clear goal. They don't have a clear goal. And when they have these problems, then they are not really involved in the process. They miss meetings. They are not motivated to work on the pathway. They don't attend any training. They miss everything. They miss everything, and that's a real challenge and problem here in Madagascar. And I think the best way to help them is to reinforce the mentorship. I think that because even for the officers, either for the officers or the area director or members, they all need individual mentors to support them at any time, at each stage. I think that's the most helpful that's the most helpful way that we can do to help them to be more motivated. Because do you know, the more they are involved in the process, the more they will feel the value and the benefit from Toastmasters. So it really matters that we help them, that we have mentors to be there at any time to support them. Thank you so much.
And I agree wholeheartedly. It was one of those things that when I went to Toastmasters, I was grasping, and eventually I got a mentor, and eventually I learned what an area director was. And I think probably one of the most exciting experiences I had was becoming that area director, because you went to other clubs and you saw, wow, they do this differently. It's an opportunity for you to be able to see that there's a program and it can be worked in different ways, and you can pull from the best and bring it back to your club. So last but not least, Phyllis, please.
Thank you, John. I have a slightly more practical suggestion on growing leaders, and it's not going to be easy or short, but I really think our districts have to return to in-person events as much as possible. And here's why, is that we know that the average life of a Toastmaster is pretty short, right? And since COVID happened until now, the club experience has mostly been online or hybrid. There are a good percentage of clubs who are returning to in-person. So that means any members who have joined in the last 3 years have probably not been to any in-person events. And so they're not seeing leadership in action. And I remember when I first took a role outside of my club, it was because I saw Sylvain Hood run a division speech contest in Port Alberni. And I was at that contest, and Sylvain said that he was looking for volunteers or for people to run for division director and to speak to him if they wanted more information. And when I saw what the role involved, because I had seen Sylvain several times in person at different events, I thought, I want to do his job. So I went all the way to Hope to a district conference to put my name in and become a Division G director at the time. And years later, I did an area director role, but that's how I got into a role outside of my club. And I think that, yes, our members aren't seeing leadership in action outside of the club level. They know very little about Toastmasters outside of our clubs, and that's probably the best thing we could do. And as club members, we can encourage the member experience even further by promoting those events and encouraging more to attend them. Just a practical way. And I think it years to recover from the effects of COVID and fully get back into in-person events as much as possible. I like the online options for training and maybe executive meetings or even some district administration, right? But I don't think we've found our balance yet, and it's going to take time.
I agree. And we're in person. And what I really got a kick out of is when we came out of COVID, there was people who had joined during COVID, usually young people. And the first time that they had to walk up in front of that room, it was just hilarious to see the angst and the anxiety. But what happened is in a very short period of time, you could see that development of their skill set, because a lot of these people come and they already have those skills. It's just self-esteem, it's confidence, it's support that you need. And I've never found an organization that has the ability to be able to support its members in a way that it does get done. Every meeting, there's it's DEI in action, really, because it's such a positive experience, and it doesn't matter who you are, everyone is welcome. I believe that's all four of you have asked question number 3, and I'm just going to take a couple of minutes here and just ask Jackie or Garth if they have a question that they'd like to. I'm actually going to let you ask the question because we got a few minutes left. Garth, Jackie?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So what do you think would be the best role to take at a district level if you're just starting off going to that level?
Have you been area director yet, Jackie?
No.
That's a great one. That to me, area director is the secret sauce outside the club. You can grow and stretch and learn from all the clubs you visit and support. I will say that a lot of times I hear district leaders try to promote area director as it's not that much work. You just have to visit a couple times. That literally upsets me so much, because the more you visit those clubs, the more relationships you build, the better off you and the clubs are. And it is an incredible experience.
So what qualifications do you need to have to go for that role?
I believe, and now correct me if I'm wrong, obviously a member in good standing, and I believe you need to have been a VPE or a president. And outside that, you're good to go.
Okay. Thank you for that.
And I want to join my voice with Monique. I agree that area director is a phenomenal role and experience and opportunity to learn. I do want to support the qualifications, because basically your role as an area director is to build new clubs and to support all clubs in achieving excellence. So you're really working with clubs to solve their problems where they're stuck. So you get to do some psychology and you get to do some Toastmastering, and you're helping problem solving or helping them find where they're stuck or giving them ideas and really helping them with the how. In some cases, clubs that aren't at 20 members or plus, or they're not working the Toastmasters program and pathways as well as they could, or they're not getting people oriented soon enough to get them up and functioning, or they don't have a strong mentoring program. You can bring those why or those hows to those clubs. People often know what they need to do, but they don't know how. And I always say that if people know how to be better, they will be. So I think that's what the role of area director is so phenomenal for, is that you get to learn so much yourself and bring all that you know and all your other stuff. Like, you have a lifetime of experience and knowledge, and you get to bring that to that relationship also and help them figure it out and challenge them. One of the things that I always used to say, if you don't have empty seats in your meeting room, you're in too small a room. You've got to have room for guests. If your room is full, where you get this psychological idea that the club's full and you don't need new members. But if you really have 20 seats there and you've got 8 members sitting there every week, pretty soon somebody's going to say, hey, why do we have 12 extra chairs? And somebody will say, let's move to a smaller room. And I go, no, let's move to a bigger room because obviously we're not uncomfortable yet. So anyway, Jackie, apply to be an area director. You can't miss the experience.
Hey, Irina, we're just going to wrap up with you, and that would be just fantastic. So go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much. In addition to that, while you are waiting to be eligible for the area director role, I would like to advise you to take role under leadership, under the district leadership. For example, last year I was the club extension chair, and this year, in addition to be the area director, I'm also the TLA chair. And I'm telling you that it's really a big opportunity for you, and it will equip you to be ready for your next leadership role. That's all. Thank you.
Fantastic. We're at 8:58. I'm going to take the opportunity to thank each and every one of you. I found this powerful, and it's really exciting that it's 4 ladies too. That we're getting a perspective from, we're supposed to be all about patriarchy, but I don't think so anymore. We have leaders that are female, and they bring a perspective that I found was very holistic. It's a real chance to look at how we can better ourselves at the same time we better everyone. So I'll pass this back to Carlos and let him close up.
I have a question. I would love to put this on social media on LinkedIn. Would you feel comfortable if I took a picture and posted it on LinkedIn in the future? Is everyone
I'm
okay
good.
with that?
Everybody, Garth, you okay?
Okay,
I'm
I'm gonna
fine,
take
yep.
a picture. So hold on, I'm gonna get out my camera real quick. And everyone smile. And I'll send this picture to all of you.
Thank you very much, Monique.
Thank-
And back to Carlos.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Toastmasters is an education, and fundamentally, Toastmasters clubs is education. And I'm very happy that everyone made it happen tonight. But I always say that recognition is never enough. And because recognition is never enough, I want you to please help me, share this with you all. This is for Pat Johnson for her wonderful contribution. And she knows what we mean by wonderful contribution, not only because she's with us here tonight only, right? Thank you, Pat. Let me move on to Irina. Irina, so great to have you here. We have learned a lot. You have inspired us, and we are going to continue moving forward because that's our call. Monique, from the very beginning, she has her story. I wanted to recruit her for the month before, for the month of October, and she was very busy. But then there was a time, and resilience is part of leadership as well. I was waiting for her. Phyllis, thank you so very much for your support, not only in this session, but also to the district and all the years you've been serving as a very strong servant leadership. And John, for your wonderful support all along for leading this. Every leadership style is valid. There is no one, it's just contextualized. Thank you so very much. And with this, the meeting is formally adjourned, yet we can stay here to talk, right? And to exchange ideas and to share. I'm gonna stop the recording because that's necessary. Thank you so very much.